Do you think no contact is the way to overcome pain? Think again. Here, we don't just revolve around a simple tactic. We bring something stronger, more ruthless, complete indifference. This isn't a feeble silence waiting for a slim chance, nor is it disappearing to escape the pain. This is a razor-sharp blade that severs every emotional tie, a journey of rising from the wreckage to become an invulnerable version of yourself, leaving the one who abandoned you not just regretful but stunned by the heights you've reached, a place they can never touch. Follow the 10 core strategies of Stoic Pathways to turn your story into reality. Starting with the collapse where everything falls apart, you'll see why no contact is just the tip of the iceberg. Indifference becomes your ultimate weapon, guiding you through the dark side of attraction, where the other side unravels as they lose control. You'll learn to turn pain into power, using your inner fire to rebirth yourself, then master silently, triumphing without a word. A mysterious aura will make you an obsession, preparing you for the final test when they return. The pinnacle is becoming unbreakable, where you find true freedom and finally living in a new reality, a life that belongs solely to you. Don't just stop at forgetting. Follow along to master yourself, transform pain into strength, and leave the world in awe of your resilience. This isn't an escape, it's a rise. 1. Back then, I thought I held the whole world in my hands. Love burned bright like the sun, hope twinkled like the stars, and dreams wove themselves into every breath I took. I, a man who once believed happiness was eternal, suddenly faced my own personal apocalypse. She, the one I loved more than myself, walked out of my life without a goodbye, without even a punctuation mark for me to cling to for understanding. There was only a cold, sharp silence, cutting like a blade, leaving me lost amidst the ashes of a broken heart. I stood there, alone in a room once filled with laughter, now echoing with emptiness. Every street I passed seemed to call her name. Every song on the radio turned into a refrain of aching longing. The keepsakes, the cup she once held, the note she scribbled hastily, were no longer memories, but invisible daggers stabbing deep into my chest, tearing through every fiber. No blood flowed, but the pain seeped relentlessly, saturating every moment of my existence. Inside my mind raged an endless battlefield. Anger roared like a wild beast, wanting to rip everything apart to reclaim justice. Yet hope, frail and fragile, still whispered amidst the storm, clinging to me with illusions of the day she'd return. And then pain, the ruthless tyrant, howled without cease, turning my mind into a chaotic ruin. I didn't know if I was still alive or merely a shadow stumbling through a nightmare called loss. This wasn't an ending, it was the beginning of destruction. People preach that no contact is the golden cure, the key to erasing memories, to rising strong like a warrior. I believed it, tried it, gritted my teeth to sever every tie with her. No texts, no calls, not a glance on social media. But then I realized this so-called no contact was just a flimsy shield, tearing apart like wet paper. It wasn't liberation, it was a half-hearted game I played to fool myself. On the outside, I was silent, still as a rock. But inside, my heart still bled, quietly counting each minute in wait. A flickering message on the screen, a chance glance in a crowded street, or just the faint hope she'd return. I wouldn't admit it, but I craved it. And that fragile hope betrayed me. It turned me into a puppet, invisible strings still in her hands no matter how much I denied it. Women, they're sharper than we think. They don't need words, don't need actions. They smell weakness in the way I pretended not to care. Even if I locked my phone tight, erased every trace of her from my life, they knew. They sensed that my silence wasn't strength, but fear. fear of facing the truth that I hadn't let go. No contact? It's not the key to forgetting. It's a sweet trap that binds me to my own pain, all while I remain blissfully unaware. 4. At first she smirked inwardly, confident like a victor. She was certain he'd crumble, collapse in tears, begging her to return like countless weak, lovesick fools before. She pictured him sitting there, clutching his phone, awaiting a sign from her with red-rimmed eyes and a bleeding heart. But day by day she realized her grave mistake, a colossal error. His silence wasn't the mute retreat of a coward fleeing. No, it was a frigid, profound, terrifying void, like a dark abyss swallowing everything she once held certain. Not a single message flashed. Not a trace lingered on social media. Not a flicker of response for her to cling to delude herself that he still needed her. He vanished, not in hiding, but like a silent storm sweeping away every tie between them. Panic crept in, her hands trembling as she grasped the awful truth. What she'd once scorned, discarded like an old toy, was no longer under her control. It became a ghost, haunting her mind each night. What she'd once held slipped away, leaving a screaming void that declared her wrong, disastrously wrong. He didn't just leave her, he erased her from his life as if she'd never existed. That bitter truth pierced her pride, plunging her into chaos. She'd lost him, not because he was weak, but because he'd become what she never foresaw, a man beyond her reach, forever. 5. He stood there, amid the ruins of his own heart, yet he refused to fall. Tears? No, he wouldn't let them spill, not from fear, but because he knew they'd heal nothing. Instead, he did what the weak dare not. He gathered the pain, each jagged shard, each bleeding cut, and forged them into a ferocious flame. That fire wasn't there to destroy him. It incinerated what was fragile, those tender corners that once made him tremble before loss. From those ashes, he tempered a new man, unyielding, sharp, gleaming like a diamond under crushing pressure. This wasn't chance, but a brutal lesson he drew from Stoic wisdom, a cold yet radiant truth. You can't choose your fate, can't silence the storm's roar or force someone to stay, but you can choose how to face it, head bowed or held high, broken or reborn. He chose the path of fire and steel. Each wound she left, he turned into a hammer forging his will. Each lonely night he made a furnace to cast his resilience. He didn't need applause, didn't crave admiring gazes from the crowd. All he sought was to look in the mirror and see a man no one could break. Pain wasn't his enemy. It was fuel, the wind fanning the blaze within him. He didn't beg for pity, didn't wait for a savior. He needed just one thing, to become the strongest, most invulnerable version of himself, not to prove it to her or anyone, but to affirm he'd overcome. From the ashes of a shattered heart, he rose, not a victim, but a warrior, blazing, proud, and unconquerable. He's no longer the noisy fool of old, no more boastful posts on social media, no more cheap tricks to snag attention. He scorns the notion of shouting to prove his worth. Instead, he chooses silence, but not the frail silence of a loser. This is the silence of a hidden storm, deep and fearsome, quietly sweeping away everything in its path. He rises step by step, beat by beat, needing no one's notice, no one's applause. His success requires no advertisement. It speaks for itself, vivid and undeniable. While the crowd out there scrambles for glances, chasing hollow praise, he smirks faintly. They can yell, they can flaunt, but he needs none of it. He has one sole aim, a fire smoldering in his chest, to surpass himself. Day by day, hour by hour, he hones himself like a razor-sharp blade, not to show off, but to prove he can stand firm amid the tempest. His silence isn't surrender, it's the muted roar of a beast freed from chains. And when the world takes notice, they'll see. He doesn't need noise to dominate. He's mastered it all with that wordless strength alone. 7. Vanish completely? No, that's not him. That's the path of cowards, cowering in dark corners to flee the world. He doesn't run. He appears, but not with fake smiles or pleading eyes. He strides forth like a living shadow, cold, invulnerable, and elusive as smoke dissolving in the wind. His face is no longer an open book for others to read, no longer bearing traces of weakness or a yearning to be understood. He's a man who's locked his emotions tight, forging them into an impenetrable armor. He's no longer predictable. Every guess about him crumbles, every judgment falls flat. He's become a riddle without an answer, a mystery that spins others into curiosity and dread. That very enigma, wordless, lightless, crafts a strange aura, dark yet radiant, magnetic yet terrifying. It clings to their minds like a phantom, unforgettable, unceasingly prompting the question, who has he become? She and those who once dismissed him are now haunted. Not because he shouts or proves anything, but because he's morphed into an entity beyond their grasp. That coldness, that elusiveness, is an invisible blade carving him deep into their memories, forever. Then the moment arrives, not today, not tomorrow, but someday she'll knock again. A subtle sign will slip through the quiet night, a hesitant, dangling message like a fleeting breeze, an unexpected like on an old post, or a casual question feigning innocence. She'll test, she'll probe, like a lost soul seeking the way back. But he's no longer the man of old, the one who trembled with hope, who'd kneel to clutch at fragile affection. He's a different being now, an impregnable fortress, built from the ashes of his own shattered heart. He doesn't leap with joy, doesn't let his heart race like it once did. His hands don't rush to type a reply, don't scramble to please her. He gazes at that sign, the one he once dreamed of through long, desperate nights, and smirks faintly. This isn't a door to revive a dead story, not a chance to spiral back into old pain. It's vivid proof, blazing like the sun, that he's free, free from her, from the hurt, from the weak man who once fell for her. She can knock, but he won't open his heart, not out of spite, not out of pride, but because he's moved beyond it all. She's no longer his world center. He is strong, steadfast, and wholly at peace. 9. That moment struck like lightning tearing through the night, the moment he stared into the mirror and realized she was no longer the center of his universe. It wasn't just a fleeting thought, but a fierce liberation, a silent roar of a soul unshackled. He didn't need to wait for her to reach out, didn't crave the victor's thrill in a pointless war. He didn't defeat her, he surpassed her, surpassed himself, and that was the day he truly began to live. She was once everything, the flame that warmed him, the storm that swept him away, the sky he gazed at daily. But now she means nothing, like a breeze passing over a barren field, drifting by and fading, leaving not even a scratch on his mind. He no longer wonders where she is, no longer starts at the phone's ring, no longer seeks her shadow in his dreams. She's been erased, not by hatred or forced forgetting, but by the strength of a man who's found himself. He stands there, invincible, not because someone acknowledges it, but because he's freed himself from her shadow. She could return, she could vanish forever, it no longer matters. He is a mountain towering amid the tempest, a flame no one can extinguish. She is nothing now, and he is everything. 10. Now he stands in a new world, a realm carved solely for him, where he alone defines its boundaries and its truths. He no longer glances over his shoulder. anxious to decipher the thoughts of others, nor does he flinch under the weight of their curious stares or hushed murmurs. The opinions of the masses, once a shadow trailing his every step, have faded into irrelevance. He seeks no validation from their nods, hungers for no cheers from faceless strangers. He has become his own greatest prize, a luminous trophy, not handed to him by fate, but painstakingly molded in the crucible of torment. Each scar, each sleepless night has tempered him, blending fire's ferocity with steel's unyielding resolve. Revenge finds no foothold in his soul. Bitterness has no crevice to fester. In their place stands an unshakable indifference, pure and towering, as cold and majestic as the wind that dances across a mountain's peak, untouched by the chaos below. When she returns, tentative and searching, her footsteps soft as if testing fragile ice, she seeks the spark she once knew, that eager, glowing look in his eyes that burned only for her. But what greets her is a merciless truth, a silent strike that shatters her illusions. He hasn't merely drifted away, wounded or frail. No, he has ascended, rising far above her reach, past the haunting echoes of yesterday that once held him captive. She stands diminished, a stranger gazing up at a figure she can no longer comprehend, dwarfed by the man he's become. Words are unnecessary. He offers no defense, no explanation. His very existence, calm and resolute, speaks louder than any declaration ever could. This is his crowning victory, not a thunderous cry that splits the heavens or a fist thrust defiantly skyward. It's a silence so profound it pierces the air, sharp as a blade honed by years of quiet resolve. He's not a mere survivor clinging to life's edges. He's a sovereign, commanding his destiny with a strength born deep within, impervious to the world's tremors. Once he was a man defined by others, by her, by their judgments, by their fleeting approval. Now he is a fortress, built from the wreckage of his former self, each brick laid with purpose, each wall unassailable. She might linger at the edges of his world, a ghost of what was, but she holds no power here. The past, with all its chains, lies broken at his feet, and he strides forward, not to prove a point, but to live as he was always meant to, whole, unburdened, and supreme. His triumph isn't loud, it's eternal, etched in the quiet mastery of a soul that bends to no one. He doesn't just endure, he reigns, an unshakable force, rooted in the certainty that he alone is enough. In summary, this story embodies stoicism, mastering oneself amid the storm, releasing what lies beyond control, transforming suffering into unmatched strength, and becoming the ultimate version of oneself, not to prove anything to anyone, but to live true to the deepest core of one's being. This man's journey isn't just a tale, it's a call from the depths to every shattered heart. From the ashes of a love betrayed, he didn't choose to collapse or wait in vain. He rose, turned pain into a blazing fire, and forged himself into an invulnerable diamond. No contact was merely the start. Indifference became the blade that severed every chain, the power that made the one who left him tremble before the void he left behind. He needs no words to triumph, no eyes to affirm his worth. His silence roars, his mystery haunts, and when she returns, she faces a brutal truth. He has transcended, not for revenge, but to live authentically as himself. This is the Stoic spirit, mastering yourself amid the tempest, turning adversity into strength, and finding freedom in proud indifference. You can do it too. Don't let pain imprison you. Don't let false hope bind you. Let Stoic Pathways walk with you on this journey, the path from ruin to invincibility. Each video is a flame, each story a hammer forging your will. Subscribe today, not just to follow a channel, but to join a revolution. a revolution of resilient souls, ready to overcome all to reclaim themselves. Hit that button and step with us into a new world where you are everything